I feel like I didn't really start diving deep into like my faith journey until probably like my junior year.
What the heck is going on? Like, I'm so confused. Is that like, I try to look back on every time I was in that exact moment and like how God's outcome was 10 times better than anything I could have come up with. The valley seasons suck when you're in them.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, I'm like, man, I'm actually very thankful.
Welcome to the Game Changers podcast. Join the huddle as we share the stories and advice of individuals who use their athletics, faith, and a strong mindset towards athletic excellence. I'm your host, Taft.
Welcome back to the Game Changers podcast, season 3. Guys, we have a reoccurring guest and someone very special to my life, Neal. We're actually going to dive more into our story as kind of the journey we're in right now in a separate podcast, which is going to be really cool, in depth. But kind of our story is we run a basketball training company here in Denver. We grew up together in Indiana, which is crazy because 2 completely different states, and the fact that we're here and the Lord led us to our journey here is really cool, and we can't wait to share that. But today we're gonna actually have Laura share her story, kind of in that in-between, talking about like God's plan and just like how do you persevere through frustration and really trust in that plan. So Laura, so happy to have you on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. It's exciting.
It's so cool. Yeah, we pulled out, like I took Polaroid of her in our very first podcast, and it's really cool to see like that was in my apartment in California, and now I'm in my apartment in Denver. So like the coolest year and a half, because that was like a year and a half ago.
I know. It's crazy how things have changed for the better.
For the better.
So.
for the better.
Yeah.
But first, Laura, can you give us like an introduction, who you are, give us a little backstory.
Yeah. So like Jay said, I'm from Indiana. I grew up playing basketball, played college basketball at Northern Kentucky University, and then transferred to University of Indianapolis. And then I spent some time college coaching for roughly about 2 years, and then got into the training business, which is really where I kind of felt my most purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
Worked for a training academy in Indianapolis, and then my husband and I moved here to Denver, and it's kind of when Vision started.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like during those 2 years of college coaching is really where I kind of fell in love with like the player development side, and kind of where I started to really just like fall in love again with the game of basketball.
Totally.
So yeah.
What was like your decision from player to coach? Like, did you start did you always know you wanted to maybe kind of stay in basketball, or did you kind of find like a spark while you were playing that was like, ooh, let me try coaching out?
Yeah, so I really, I feel like I felt that fulfillment like when I was playing. And so it was kind of like, what's the next step? And so with that, it just felt like a natural process. Like, okay, I'm not really gonna, like, I'm not gonna play professionally. So it's like, what's the next thing I can do in basketball? And that was coaching. And that's when I kind of decided to go into college coaching, just because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, totally. Like, obviously I know a lot of your backstory, but you did transfer, right? So like, obviously you transfer because of frustration, disappointment. Like, there's something from that school, even if, because again, like my first school, I actually loved my coach and my teammates. I just didn't like the school. I didn't like the system. So there's like frustrations with that. But that's not always the case. Sometimes why we transfer. So can you give us a little, like, just whatever you feel comfortable sharing about your decision to transfer? What was maybe some disappointments maybe that you had? Because it's like, I think we all go into college being like, this is gonna be the best 4 years of my life. I've worked all this time to just excel in college. And then we get there and then it's like, oh, yeah, this is college basketball. So kind of maybe dive into that.
Yeah, so I kind of think my college journey kind of started with a little bit of disappointment in the first place. And just with that, I only got one Division I offer.
Yeah.
And I had this expectation when I was a kid and growing up in middle school and high school that like I had to play Division I basketball or I was going to be a failure.
Totally.
And so I got that one Division I offer, and I was like, okay, since this is my only one, obviously I'm going to need to take it. And so I kind of started with that feeling a little bit of disappointment, just like by not like gaining those offers. I felt like I wasn't like living up to what I was working for. And so with those 2 years, again, I'll always say like, super grateful for those 2 years at Northern Kentucky. Like, I had a lot of really good teammates and still connected with some of them too. So during those 2 years, though, is where I kind of learned what I wanted and where a lot of like more feelings of disappointment and failure like crept in. And that was like, you know, I wasn't getting playing time. We weren't winning games as a team. I wasn't like, I was putting in a lot of work, but it wasn't paying off on the court. And so that's where a lot of those feelings of failure and disappointment have kind of like crept in. And then with that, I decided like, okay, this isn't really what I want in my college experience. Like I want to play. I want to play basketball. And so I decided to transfer, and I transferred to University of Indianapolis, which is a Division II, which when I started transfer, I was like, oh, I don't know, going down to Division II, like, I feel like that's not good enough. And in reality, it was like, that was not the case. It was like super competitive. I really loved my teammates, my coaches, and I felt way more like fulfillment there than I did at Northern Kentucky. And that transfer was probably one of the like best decisions I made in my basketball journey.
Yeah. There's like two things that like I pulled from that I think like you could speak on, but it was like, did you feel like when you made like the decision out of, well, this is the only D1, I have to take this. Like, it's almost like you made a decision out of settling and lack versus like, I had these other offers. Like, did you feel like, was there a specific school, you don't have to name a school, but is there any specific school that you were like, dang it, I should have chosen this one after that, or how did you? Yeah,
no, that's a good question. And I think it's funny, like I was getting recruited by the University of Indianapolis.
So funny.
And I was like, no, I really don't even think I entertained like a phone call with them.
Was it same coach?
It was a different coach, yeah. But like thinking back, I'm like, wow, like I wonder if I would have given this an opportunity or even had like a different experience, like a D2 or a D3. Like what could my basketball journey, how could it have been different?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like during that time at Northern Kentucky, like I needed those 2 years to really put like my basketball journey and like what I wanted into perspective. I feel like I wouldn't have learned those things without that experience.
100%. And I think we talk about this all the time. We have so many girls who are wanting to be recruited in college, right? So we talk to them all the time about like, and I just had that conversation too today where it's like, we have to stop looking at the title, because if you got a offer, if you signed a paper to play college basketball, like that is an incredible accomplishment or not.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like you worked hard, it paid off, right? And same thing with me, like I played D2 and I still had crappy experiences. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying college is crappy, but I'm saying like it doesn't matter the level you're gonna get those things at the same level. And we talk about all the time, which we could dive more into this later, but where there's Division III schools that are dynasties, like that win national championships, have girls that easily could go play higher level basketball, but like there's something about that school that they chose. So we just want to leave that with you now is like, don't be discouraged by the title, or like, if you don't go D1, it's a failure. I think that's a really big, a big quote. And I'm so glad you said that, because I felt the same way. Like I had one Division I offer, and then it ended up turning into like, it was going to be an offer, someone took it, then it was like a walk-on position. So it's like, I could have walked on for the title. I played D1, I'm on a D1 team, but I didn't work that hard to not play, to like ride the bench for 2 years. Like when I had this goal where it was like, no, you're going to be the starting point guard. Like to me, which one's better on paper? And I guess that just depends on you. But,
and I think with that though, there is like with college basketball experience, like I think there is a good story to like going into a Division I school, and then like you might have to like be a like practice player for like the first 2 years and like maybe only get 3 to 5 minutes, but then if you put in the work and you 100%. Consistently like you can get minutes and like put in your sweat equity by your junior and senior year. So
there's a story with anything. It's just really what you want. Like are you good with that? Like maybe playing 3 to 5 minutes and like kind of that grind and working hard, or do you want to play right off the bat? None of that is wrong. It's just what do you want? What are your expectations?
Absolutely.
And then I kind of want to dive into like the mindset shift of the preparation. I feel like those 2 years at Northern Kentucky, you had huge preparation seasons, and you probably did not look at it that way at all. You probably thought this sucks. What is going on? Like the disappointment. Like looking back now, what are maybe some things that felt like the Lord was preparing you for in those 2 years that you maybe obviously didn't see in the moment?
Yeah. I feel like a big one was just like the preparation, and I found a lot of joy in like the individual workouts with like the coaches at Northern Kentucky, and going in and like shooting on the gun by myself, or getting in the weight room, and just I really fell in love with the preparation. And I feel like in the profession that we're in now, being trainers, like we're helping kids prepare on the court with like skills, even off the court stuff too. So I kind of feel like that's where the joy for that came in, and the purpose too. And I really fell in love with that. And with that too, I was able to, like during those 2 years and having different coaches throughout my college career, whether that's new assistants coming in, a new head coach, you learn different drills and you learn different techniques, and you get to see different things happen on the basketball court. And I just feel like that kind of allowed me to put more things into my bag and like take it with me and be able to like teach kids those things now. Totally.
No, it's a good perspective, because like, I mean, I've been stuck in that before, where it's like, why me? Why is this happening? Like really trying to find the joy in an experience, but barely finding it. You know what I mean? So the fact that you were able to do that is really awesome. So it's like any athlete out here that's like listening to this podcast, like the valley season you may be going through, it's like, what do you think like the Lord's trying to do? Like, what are common themes that are happening? Like, what are things that's on your heart? What are things that you're like, I'm really struggling in this area? And a lot of it is pride. I think pride kind of comes into play. Disappointment comes into play. Identity stuff comes into play, like value, worth, like those kinds of things. Like honestly, like reevaluating what was my expectation and what is like God's expectation, and kind of like, is it my expectation that's like not being met, or is it like this is where I'm supposed to be, and kind of like leaning into the Lord with that. And then you look at things like, and we could dive into it later, but it's like, maybe if you didn't have those 2 years at, you know, Northern Kentucky, and then you transfer to UIndy, like now you're in Indianapolis, maybe you would have never really met Johnny, you know what I'm saying? And like be a part of that. So it's like even those little things, and then that gave you like the opportunity to use the stuff that you learned from training those individual workouts, all those different coaches, be equipped to go into that position and like be able to train full time in Indy. And then the Lord was like, okay, it's your time now to like do your own thing.
No, and I feel like with that too, one of the other biggest things I learned like at Northern Kentucky was just like leadership and how to like carry myself through like the hard times and like the disappointment and the failure, because those were two just common feelings that I had at Northern Kentucky. Because as a basketball player and as an athlete, like you want to compete and you want to be on the court, but that wasn't happening for me. So a lot of leadership had to like step in. Like, am I still showing up for my teammates? Am I still being vocal and positive? Am I still doing all the right things, putting in the work, even though I'm not getting the minutes? And I feel like that was something that I learned pretty quickly, and I was like super consistent with it, that was able to carry over into University of Indianapolis, coaching, and then even like training, like when we're having like a bad week here, or when we're having, you know, not as many kids sign up or something like that. I feel like, you know, we still have to have that encouragement through like the disappointment.
Totally. Yeah. What are some, I know you named a few, but what are some specific maybe times that you can remember, or just specific things that you would lean into when you were dealing with disappointment and frustration, and then you said, how can I turn that to maybe like serving a teammate or finding joy? Like, tell me any story you have or anything specific to encourage someone here that is going through, again, that valley season, whatever, and like almost like, and again, I'm not saying you can't feel, you can't like, please feel, please bring it to the Lord, please like go through your emotions and process your emotions, but we also don't want to sit in self-pity and be like, why me kind of thing. You want to get that kind of off of you, and the biggest thing I have found is by serving. Like, how can I serve? And again, like you said, like if we're having like an off week, we're not getting as many kids, like how can I like serve, you know, our girls that are coming to the gym at that time? But like, what would you say to someone, you as a teammate, what did you try to do to like kind of take the darkness off of you?
I feel like one thing that pops into mind is just, so during my time at University of Indianapolis, one of our core values was like servant leadership. And I feel like that's something that is carried over to like my personal life and to like our training business. So even like, I just remember my junior year, we came in and I was getting that playing time. I was averaging the most minutes and scoring the most points and doing all those things that I wanted to do and that I had put in the work to do. But we weren't winning games. And so there's that like frustrating and that disappointment piece again. I think maybe my junior year, we only won like 9 or 10 games. So like having to work through, okay, I'm feeling this personal fulfillment.
Yeah.
But it's not as rewarding since the team is not experiencing it. And since, you know, having that like personal fulfillment is great, but when you're not doing it with other people, that's when it starts to be like, ugh, okay, why am I really doing this?
That's so good.
And I feel like that servant piece is where it comes in. Like, are we really doing this just to win basketball games? Don't get me wrong, competitor. I want to win basketball games. I always want to win. But that's kind of where my shift started to happen of like, and that servant leadership really like was put on my heart. So like, what are things that I can do during this basketball season that's really going to help someone else? And that's where you were talking about, like, I shifted the focus from me and what I wanted to accomplish to what I can do for other people. So and don't get me wrong, like, there is still those, like, in everyday life, there's those feelings of failure and disappointment. And like, it's okay to like feel sad and like feel those feelings because they're real and you need to recognize those. But just being able to turn that in to like putting it into somebody else always would just like fill my cup up even more. So yeah, I think servant leadership is just like, it's like one of the biggest core values that I love.
Totally. And like serving literally could be as simple as like filling a water bottle for your teammate, right? Giving your, like, how many times have we had teammates where they're just having a bad practice and it's like, just like we have to go run or we have to go whatever. And it's just like, instead of being on this end of the baseline, I'm going to go stand next to you and I'm going to encourage you. Like, yes, this sucks for me. Like, I don't want to freaking run, but like, I'm going to take that off of me and encourage you. And then you see like you both win. And that, like, giving a high five, giving like words of encouragement. Maybe you finish your free throws and you are so tired you want to get water, but like your teammate hasn't finished her free throws, so you're just going to rebound for her. Like little things like that. And then you can go into big things like checking in on them, like making them a meal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know in college we got a budget, but like, you know, making a meal for your teammate, whatever that is, like whatever you feel like serving is, like, I think that's important. And kind of something that spoke to me, which is super funny because we're just talking about like the Lord's plan and stuff, is like how God shifted like your 2 years at, you know, the first college and then your 2 years at the second college, like the things he was teaching you and how it was like, okay, you weren't really getting the minutes you wanted, or were you guys like, how successful of a team were you at Northern Kentucky? I forget.
Not very. We won probably like 8 or 9 games my
so it's kind of
and sophomore year.
Similar like score, right? But it's like really interesting how it's like you didn't have what you wanted at this school. And then you transfer and you got what you wanted, but there's a back end to the blessing of like, I'm playing, I'm scoring the most points, I'm using like my skills that I've worked so hard, whatever to use, but the team is not competing the way that I would have liked to be competing. So it's really cool to see kind of the shift and like handling what I like to call, or I've heard before, like the backside of the blessing of like, okay, the Lord blessed me with the opportunity, probably like great teammates, like you probably liked your coach more, like again, you're getting like the minutes and all those things, but as a team, we're not as like successful. So I just like that kind of like stood out to me, like when you were like talking and stuff. But along with that, like the disappointment side, like what ways would you encourage, or how, I know you said like joy and those kinds of things, but like going through it, it's like you had to deal with a lot of disappointment and a lot of adversity and a lot of those things. So like one, is there anything that you would do different from handling the disappointment that you did in the first 2 years versus now, like looking back on it? Like how would you encourage the athletes listening now?
I feel like biggest thing for me is I'm very, very inward, so I keep a lot of stuff in.
We are very opposite of that.
And so A couple of things, like I would have used my like community a little bit more, whether that's like my family or like the resources that the colleges provide us with. I feel like I didn't really start diving deep into like my faith journey until probably like my junior year. And I feel like that's also what helped with like the shift in my perspective. Just knowing, like, just really focusing on the Lord's plan for my life and what that came with, and also trying to accept the fact that my plan, it was similar to the Lord's plan, is because I always knew that basketball was going to be like my platform.
Absolutely.
It's just like the feeling that I had, I knew that was correct. But that platform, what I envisioned, was way different from what the Lord envisioned. And so really just trying to, and it's a learning process too. I didn't just wake up one morning and was like, this is what I have to do, right? It was being consistent with, you know, trying to like open myself up and express my feelings more and dive more into like his word and like talk to my community more and that kind of stuff. So I feel like I would have started that a little sooner if I would have known. Like not just putting everything on me, putting a lot of stuff on the Lord, and then a lot of stuff with like my friends and my family and my like kind of circle. I feel like would have really helped. I feel like I would have, the end goal I was going to get to. I was confident in that. How I got there, I feel like if I would have dove more into the Lord and more into his plan a little sooner, a lot easier said than done, but things would have maybe like sped up the process a little bit. But we're at the end goal, kind of. We're getting there. So yeah, just really just having like trust and faith and just trying to like start those things a little bit sooner and be a little bit more consistent with them. Totally. And just accepting the fact that like my plan, however, it may align with God's plan, but like I need God's plan to be at the forefront. Absolutely. And then, you know, he puts desires and wants on my heart. Absolutely. And those kind of align too, which is something pretty cool.
Absolutely. One thing that I've been encouraged in when like things like come our way and you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm so confused, is that like, I try to look back on every time I was in that exact moment and like how God's outcome was 10 times better than anything I could have come up with. Right? Like it was like, again, like we'll dive more into it, but like even our story and like how we came together, like we both wanted basketball when we were doing it full time, but like he knew I needed her and like vice versa, and like that we could come together and whatever, where it's like I never thought that would happen. You know what I mean? I was like, because just even of my community was great, but no one was in the athletic space with my community, and I was like, I need some other people in my life, and he brought me you. But it's really cool, and I want you guys to stay encouraged that like Laura and I, we can say we ended up in the same spot. We'll just say that for right now, because the Lord is still elevating us. But it's like we ended up here, right, at point whatever, B. But like our point A to point B was different. Where it was like you kind of always knew basketball was going to be it. I kind of like, I knew athletics would be in my life forever. It was something I valued, but like I also too was like, I'm in the creative world. So I like when basketball, and like you guys have heard my story like a lot, but it was like when basketball ended for me, I was like, okay, maybe that's the Lord saying, hey, you did great. You worked hard in your athletic career. Now I'm going to like just kind of let you do your film stuff and like do whatever. And what I literally thought basketball was over. I was like, maybe I'll coach when my kids get older, like that kind of thing. And then he gave it back to me. And he had to teach me identity stuff. And he had to teach you disappointment and frustration and trusting the plan. So it's like, and I'm wrong, trust me, I had a lot to learn with trusting the plan. Like we'll definitely say that.
And it's still something that's like kind of hard because we want the answers now. Like we want, like even with our business, like we want to do things now. And it's like, all right, we gotta wait. Maybe this doesn't align with what we need to do. And it's like, I feel like those things will kind of always, they'll always be there. Always. It's like we're human, you know what I mean? If
it's not in this, it's going to be in our family. If it's not in our family, it's going to be in this and whatever. But it's just like, again, he's pretty much like, don't overlook, like we keep talking about like preparation. Don't overlook all the valley seasons that the Lord has brought you through, because he is teaching and equipping you for what he knows is going to happen 5-10 years down the line. There's so many things, like, again, like, I don't think, and maybe I'm speaking for you, but I don't think that, like, both of us would have the passion and fire we have to serve the young women that we coach as women first before basketball players if we weren't mistreated by coaches, or we weren't mistreated by certain things, or dealing with disappointment. You know what I mean? Just like, I think, like, we're good at heart. I think we would have cared for them, but, like, the passion that we have for it. So it's like, I kind of look at that like, yes, that sucked to deal with a coach that really was not nice. But now I know how to encourage our girls in that, because I lived it. You lived it. You know? So just, like, the valley seasons suck when you're in them. But looking back at it, I'm like, man, I'm actually very thankful for that.
No, 100%. I totally agree. And it's like, I do think we would have arrived, like, don't get me wrong, if I could have changed our crappy coaching situations and that kind of thing, like, I still think we can arrive at the passion and stuff without experiencing those things. I do think it helped shape, like, our motivation and our passion for, like, what we do.
Absolutely. There's like real life experience there.
Absolutely.
You know, and which, again, it sucks,
and it
but
helps us know what not to do.
100%. That is so true. So, like, kind of going off of that, is there any other, like, encouragement that you would give? Like, you know, we're kind of like, maybe, like, think about some of the girls that we're like talking through a lot right now with, like, club season and recruiting and the pressures of that, or, like, trusting God's plan. Like, again, like, how many conversations have we had with just specifically our girls that we're training now, where we're just like, trust God's plan, but it's harder to, like you said, it's harder to, like, sit there and trust His plan. It's easier for me to say, hey, can you trust? Can you chill out and just trust that things are going to happen? Like, how would you, like, what are the things you've been speaking to those girls lately?
He knows now what He's preparing you for the future. And I think that's something that we struggled with. So just encourage, like, I feel like we try to encourage the girls that we work with too, like, whether that's the offers you're getting, or the minutes you're getting, or the experiences you're having on or off the basketball court, the Lord's preparing you now for something just, like, greater in the future. And just trusting that His great is way better than your great. And so, like, that was something that I struggled with. So that's something that I really want to try to encourage, like, just because I'm, like, scoring the most points or getting the most playing time, like, that's great in my opinion, but, like, the Lord doesn't really care about that. He cares about the people that we are in interactions with and that we're encouraging, and the relationships that we're building. That's what He cares about. And what's been the biggest blessing is that He's allowing us to use basketball to do those things, which is just awesome.
I'm, like, in awe of it every day. Like, I literally, like, pray, and I'm like, God, like, thank you. Like, the fact that, like, we get to do this full time. And I know for you and I, it's more than producing great basketball players. It is, like, actually, that's kind of the least of my, like, on my list. Like, it's really what fulfills me is not they made a basket. Trust me, it's one of the most exciting things when you're teaching girls and they get a footwork and they struggled with it. And they finally got it. And now it's that habit is broken. But, like, just the, like, little interactions that we have with them. Like, I think, hey, how was your day? What was one positive of today? Like, the little conversations in between and stuff. And, like, it's just really special. And it's really cool. And I love what you said about, like, God's great is better than my great. And you're great, and you're great, and all those kinds of things. And literally, I think about it. I know we keep teasing it, but I think about it, like, why we're sitting here today, that, like, this great is 10 times better than the great that I was doing in California. And yes, like, the Lord allowed me to start getting into full-time basketball and really making that, like, the full-time, but, like, it was a struggle, and I was trying, I was exhausting myself, like, whatever. And, like, that's a note that I want to leave with you, is that you're gonna feel exhausted and tired and fatigued when you're doing it your way and not God's way. Now, don't get me wrong, there's times where we're tired, right? We put a lot of work in, we put a hard 10-hour training day, especially in the summer, of, like, that. We're getting our, like, 50,000 steps in that day. And it's tiring, but, like, when you really go about God's plan, you find rest in that. And you find, and I was actually just kind of reading in like Luke about feeding the 5,000 and how I was like diving into it more. And like after Jesus, he gave the resources, he did the things, and he told everyone to sit. It's like, what? Like, you know what I mean? So we think about that. We're like, okay, God, I got to work hard. I got to do this. And yes, you got to work hard. You got to steward your stuff well. But like, God just wants you to sit. And that's really hard, especially for us athletes, where it is like our core values is hard work, sacrifice, like putting in the time and like working in excellence. But like, what does that mean to sit? And I think that means to like, let God be God. Steward what you have well, and like your story will pan out like the way it is. If you feel like you have to force your way into something, it might not be like for you or not yet type of thing. Like, and I kind of felt that with just our story of like, I was really forcing a lot, or really trying a lot, or really exhausting myself. And then when in the perfect timing, God brought you back into my life and like made the decision to move here. Not that it wasn't hard, like there's still a lot of hard things, but I found a lot of rest and recovery in that, being like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest thing. Like, it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, is there anything like that kind of stuck out to you with like the sitting portion of stuff? Like God's like, I will provide.
Yeah,
Sit.
that's, I struggle with sitting. Whether that's I'm eating breakfast in the morning or trying to watch a show, I struggle with sitting. But no, I feel like just trusting that he will provide the clients, the time, the gym space. And that's something, especially just in our last 2 years with Vision, just trusting in that slow process of what he's building. And there's something kind of rewarding too when you've waited all this time
100%,
and that one thing is paying off, and you kind of see you know, the fruits of our labor and his labor, you know, coming to fruition.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, again, like you've always had it on your heart, but I know specifically like me, like 5 years ago when it was this is what I'm going to do full time. And I know it. Like, I know this is what it is. And like, it's really cool to see looking back on the journals and like the prayers and like those kinds of things of like, this is what I feel like, God, you're putting on my heart. I'm going to dream with you. This is whatever. And then like seeing it 4 or 5 years later and being like, yes, Laura knows me more than anyone. I am very like futuristic, and I'm very like now. Like we're going to do this now, or like whatever. But it's really rewarding, like you said, to see it, that 4 or 5 years of building. Because also too, I know that if I was disobedient and did things that I wanted to do even like 3 years ago, it would have tanked.
Yeah.
You know, and like God was like, you're not ready. Like, and if you want to do this for my name, let me like cook it. You know what I'm saying? And like, and I always think, like you said, like God is a slow burner. Like, don't get me wrong. If he wants to open the door, like there's times in both of our lives where it was like an immediate yes, open the door, we're walking through it. But I think that was because of preparation leading up to it. Yeah. But I think things are better slow burned in anything. Yeah. Basketball, like business, relationships, whatever, than it is instant gratification right now, leaning into what the Lord is teaching us. And I think that we are in the position we are now because both of us slow burned until now. And then now we just have a new slow burn. Exactly. Something we're still got to be patient with. So we're getting there though. We have our weekly meetings and we're like writing and we're like, like, this is what we want. But like, getting there. But it's really cool to look back on like, I mean, it's almost a year. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
in like 2 weeks, it'll be a year since I've moved here. And like looking back on like that to now.
I know.
And seeing like, to be honest with you, like how the Lord has accelerated us in so many areas where we're like, and it's funny because you say this a lot and I'm like, you're right. It's like, we have such big expectations for ourselves that we're like, why are we not there yet? But then we look at it and we look at the timeline and we're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
We're actually kind of
look at like this time last year and it was like we're having kind of a slow week this week, and it's like, well, we look at this week last year and it's like, oh wow, we're actually doing really well. But I think that's just us as competitors and like wanting to be like the best that we can.
Absolutely.
While still trusting in the process with it too.
Yeah. Is there Anything else you want to leave any athlete with, or like any other scripture that comes to heart, or anything like that we've just talked about? Disappointment, preparation, frustration. Anything you want to speak on?
I feel like the biggest thing, and just like the closing remark, is like when I started diving more into the Lord and just like trusting Him and like my spiritual journey, I feel like even though I'm not winning a national championship or coaching the highest level of basketball I can in the WNBA or Division I, I feel more fulfillment now. And I just feel like He's been able to like turn those like failures into fulfillment. And like, that's what I encourage like everybody to focus on. Don't focus on all the stats and the trophies and that. Focus on where you genuinely feel like fulfilled.
Absolutely.
And I feel like the Lord is able to like bring that fulfillment into your lives.
Yeah, that's so good and encouraging. Because at the end of the day, when we reach heaven and we reach those gates and we walk in and we have to take into account for everything we did in our life, God is not going to be like, you had a 15-point game, you should have had 25. Why did you miss those 3 layups? Whatever. He's going to hold account.
He might.
No, but He's going to hold an account for how did you bring a light to my kingdom? How did you serve my people? How did you, I always lean on like Him. I just want to get up there and Him be like, good job, my good and faithful servant. Like that was what really like keeps me going. And I think you hit on that really well.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're great. Laura was a competitor. I remember we competed hard against each other, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember her necessarily for that. I remember for her, like how she was a friend to me and how she has served me too. Cause like I've had a hard transition moving to Denver, and how she has served me. And those are the things I'm always going to remember. So thank you for that. I love you so much and thank you for that. But that's what I'm going to remember, and how you encourage me on the daily, and hopefully I encourage you in those things too. And that's what we're going to remember, in like being sisters in Christ first, and same with your teammates. Those are your sisters first, and like, how can you serve them? So well said. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
What is your IG? Obviously I'll have visions on here, but what is yours?
Yeah.
Tell her to post.
I know. That's something. I'm like trying to even remember my Instagram handle. I'm like,
I think I know.
Yeah. I think it's Laura Neal _4. I'm pretty sure that's right. This is where it's like yin and yang. It's like we needed a creative side over here, and she
needed
brings it.
The finance, spreadsheets, all of that.
Yeah. No, it's Laura Neal _4, and then Vision Basketball Academy is our business.
Yes, we have a lot of. Obviously, we want anyone to come train with us. Like, even if you're out of state, come train with us. But we have a lot of fun summer camps and clinics coming up. So please register for those. We have a lot of cool training resources as well. So if you can't come here to train, we have essentially 90 workouts at a very good price too. 90 workouts that you can do on the daily. Kind of check mark, see your progress. Yeah, that's the word, progress. And so we have a lot of resources and a lot of resources coming. So please check those out. But Laura, thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely, this was fun.
Yes, we love chatting with you. We will see you guys in the next episode, and stay tuned because we're going to have a second episode on us diving into more of Vision Basketball, our journey, and just kind of speaking about the testimony with that. I know we said a little bit about it, but we want to dive more into it. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys next week.